Okay, so we are going to look at the 12 principles of animation, and we said that the 12 principles of animation are those principles that guide every animator when they are working as an animator. So it's like it's like a Bible. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just now.
Okay, I think my network just tripped off. Okay, so
Okay.
all right, so it's like a Bible for animators to follow to guide them
Yeah.
while they are working as animators. So we talked about we looked at them. We scratched the surface of them in our last class. So the first one there is what we call the timing and the spacing. So from my own definition that I wrote out here, it says timing and spacing refers to the control of movement or motion in a scene. It can also be referred as the length of time a movement or action takes to complete. I repeat, this refers to the control of movement or motion in a scene. So let's look at an example of this. I will create a new drawing layer. By the way, we are still going to take an in-depth look at Toon Boom Harmony. But for now, we are just scratching the surface of animation, teaching or talking about animation in general. So these 12 principles applies to both 2D animators and 3D animators, and even other examples of or categories of animation. So that's what we are talking about. We are talking about the general animation principles. Okay, so this timing and spacing refers to the control of movement or motion in a scene. I have some examples here. Say a ball bouncing slowly or quickly, a character walking slowly or sluggishly or fast. So what do we mean by this? So the timing and spacing of an animation will determine the mood the character involved in the animation is in. For example, a character that is sad, when a character is sad, they normally walk slowly. Okay, so like I'm sad, my shoulders are kind of leaned down, and my head are leaned down. I'm walking slowly, thinking about my life and all that. Thinking about the future, thinking about all the mistakes I've made and all that. So I'm kind of sad and I'm walking slowly. So, but when a character is boisterous, when a character is like happy, excited, he can be walking so fast. Okay, so let's see if we can illustrate an example of this. This class might last for a while. Okay, so if I draw a character, this is just a stick figure. If I draw a character and this character, maybe the hand is leaned down like that, and okay, I can draw this character this way. So this character, this is the first pose of this character. So I'm going to put down the second frame. This is the second frame. So you can see that the character is already, the movement of the character is already taking shape. So I'll draw the next one. The next one is going to be the up pose. So the up pose. So what I'm going to do here, to make it easy for me, I'm going to copy this guy. I'm going to copy this guy and paste him here. All right. So I'm going to now draw my up pose. Up pose. So let's see.
I was just standing there as an I knew so I could drop my head, so I didn't move this.
All right.
When you were like,
so my up pose is going to be this one.
Okay.
Okay.
No, it doesn't have to be that. It can also do. Ronaldo doesn't do this, but he still does headers.
Okay.
It's just because it's.
This is the up pose.
Come on. That's
You can see what is happening. The character is taking shape
working.
gradually. So this is just the timing and spacing that we are trying to illustrate by using this practical example of this character walking. So I've drawn the three poses now, remaining the last one. Then I'll have to interchange it. So I'm going to draw this pose again. So the essence of animation is to understand how characters interact and move in real life. If you're able to understand how characters interact and move in real life, then I think it will be very easy for you to draw. It will be very easy for you to animate a character once you understand how they move in real life, like I said.
No, it's like this.
Okay, so let me try and get this one. And also, reference is very important as an animator. Whether you want to be an animator or just a digital artist, using references can never be underestimated. So you have to have references for yourself that you use. Okay, so I'm going to change this one just a bit. I'm going to change it just a bit. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go to my library and change it to this guy.
I'm just here struggling.
Alright.
Start. Because I didn't know how to read.
Okay, so this is the four main poses that I was looking to get. So you can now interchange them for the other poses. So let me make sure that I do this very well. Okay. Okay. All right. So this one should move forward, of course. I should move forward to this point. So if I play this, you can see that the character is already trying to move. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. So the character is trying to move now. So all I need to do now is to copy and paste again for the other part of the body. So I'm going to look at what I did here to help me to know the next drawing to come. All right, so this one should come next. I'll paste it here. Now move it forward, and I'll delete this and make this one the front foot. Okay. All right, so this one should come next, and I'll move it further. So you can see that animation takes time. This is just a work cycle that I'm doing, but you can see the time that it is taking me to just create it. And this is just a stick figure. Now imagine I creating this work cycle using a detailed character, drawing each frame. Okay, but don't be scared anyway, because there are ways that we are going to look at that we can do this. As you can see that all you needed for this work cycle is just around 5 or 6 drawings. Then the other ones are just copy, paste. So it's not that difficult unless you are doing some complicated actions for the character. So I'm going to know the next one, look at the next one to come right after that one. So I'm going to get this and move it forward. Okay, and make sure that this one is the front foot. Okay, so let's number these drawings to help us to know exactly the drawing that we are on. So if I play this is the last one. Now we still have one more, and that should be the last one. So this one will come forward, and this should be number 8. So if we now go back, let's just do some corrections to the drawing that we made. So if you take a look at the feet, you can see that the next drawing, which is in green, is not where it's supposed to be. So we are going to bring back this guy to match exactly this point of the previous drawing, because a normal work cycle, if you observe a normal work cycle, that is how it's supposed to be. The feet are not supposed to be come after, how do I put it, they are not supposed to, they are not
None of the
supposed to
feet
be,
is supposed to touch the foot first.
yeah, they are not supposed to kind of, they are supposed to be exactly at the same spot when the one of the feet is landing to the on the ground or something like that. So that is what I'm trying to do. So I will maybe do some corrections here and redraw this guy. Okay, so you can see that. So I'll have to bring this back again. I have to bring it back to this point, and I have to bring this back to this point. Just make sure that the feet are matched to with each other in the previous and the next drawing. By the way, what I'm using is what we call the onion skin. We have talked about the onion skin. We touched it a little bit. We'll still talk about it in details when we start learning this Toon Boom in details. So we said that the onion skin will allow you to see your previous drawing and also your next drawing, to make you to know exactly where you are supposed to place or put down your in between, that is between the previous drawing and the next drawing. So that is what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so I will place this guy here then, and we are almost done with drawing this character. So this is what we came up with. If I extend this exposure by right clicking and going to exposure, extend, then if I play this animation, you can see what it looks like. So I can loop this animation. I will loop it just now, but I want you to see what I was able to do just now. Okay, so if I play this, you can see what it looks like. Okay, so I will now look for the point where I am supposed to loop this. So this guy will come right after this guy. So I'll look at where the next drawing. So if this one, all right, so this is the next, this is where I'm going to start. If I'm correct, this is where I'm going to start. Okay, I will start here, and I can copy and paste. Let's play it and see what we get. Of course, it's going to go back because the drawing I did was just one set of drawing in one spot. So if I wanted to continue going further to this point, I can use what we call pegs to peg the character to move from that point to the next point. Then what the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use that same peg to position this character to the new spot that it will be in once it completes one cycle. Once it completes one cycle, let me show you what I mean. So I'm trying to pinpoint exactly where this guy is supposed to start moving from. So if I place this guy here, okay, let me see. All right, so I will create a cycle here by right clicking, create cycle. Maybe I'll create like 5 cycles. All right, so if I play this, let's play it first. Okay, so I can now use what we call pegs. Of course, I'll still teach you Toon Boom in depth. So we are just using this lesson for illustration purposes. That's all for now. Okay, so where is my where is that guy? No, this is not it. Where is that advanced study? Okay, so I will place this pivot point here, and now once it reaches to this point, I want it to continue moving forward. So what I'm going to do, I will just move this guy forward here. Okay, if I can go to this. Okay, so I'm going to move this guy forward here, and if we continue moving, as you can see, then once it loops, it completes a full cycle, I will move it forward again. As it continues, then I'll move it forward again. Okay, so using the software has helped to curtail challenging animation methods that were normally found in the olden days when the computers were not invented yet. where you have to make use of paper, drawing it, and you have to redraw the movement all over again just for it to continue moving forward. But with computers, you can now use pegs to just position keyframes and make the character to continue moving without you having to redraw everything. So if I play this, you can see that the character is now moving forward without looping back. You can see that it's moving forward. So this character is still kind of like moving so fast. We can increase the exposure, make the exposure bigger for it to slow down its movement. So the higher the exposure, the slower the action. So if you have, this is also a principle of spacing. So the more spaced out your frames or pages are per drawing, the slower the drawing will be. Do you understand? So if, for example, if you look at this, my timeline where my cursor is currently pointed at, you can see that I have 2 frames covering one drawing, 2 frames covering one drawing. I will explain further later when we start learning this program, maybe if you don't understand very well now. So 2 frames are covering one drawing. These are called exposures. The drawing are exposed to 2 frames. So if I want the animation to be slower, I can increase the exposure per drawing to more than that 2 frames. So if I have only 1 frame, 1 exposure, the drawing will be faster than it is right now. But if I want the drawing to be slower, I can extend the exposure per drawing to make it slower. So the more you extend the exposure of your drawings, the slower the animation. This is the part of the principle of space, timing, and spacing that we are still talking about. And also the mood of the character. The timing and the spacing affects the mood of the character. As you can see, this character is supposed to be moving slower than it is currently. So I'm going to extend this exposure to maybe, let's do it 3 and play this animation. You can see that the character has started moving slowly. So I will have to apply that pegs that I did. So I'm going to come here and moving forward. Make sure that the feet are touching exactly where the feet for the previous drawing was. Okay, so I can move this one forward again. And that is it. So if I play this, you can see that this character is now moving slower than before. So you can see that the character is moving slower, right? The other one, it was moving faster than this. So I extended the exposure further to 3 frames per drawing. 3 frames per drawing, just like using a normal exercise book, maybe a normal exercise book, and you draw a character on a page, on one page, then you skip 2 more pages, and then put down the next drawing. Skipping 2 more pages means that the same exact drawing that you did on the first page will be seen on the 2 pages that you skipped before you now create a brand new drawing on the 4th page. So that's the same principle that applies for computer animation, where you extend your exposure or your frames to cover one drawing depending on how fast or how slow you want your animation to be. Okay, so we are now going to, any question on this one? Any question you don't understand?
No, it's clear, thank you.
Okay, so we also have other examples like a ball bouncing slowly or quickly. We have a couple of examples, but it depends on what you're working on as an animator. When you are working on a project or a particular something, maybe you are working on a personal project, maybe Sierra Tales and all that, you can, in the process of animation, there is some particular scenes that you are animating and you want to apply the principles of timing and spacing. You can check and look at how what you are doing as regards the scene that you are animating, then know how to apply that specific principle to that particular scene. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, we still have number 2. We have ease in and ease out. Some animators call it slow in and slow out. So it says this refers to acceleration. And I didn't, I'm supposed to create another work cycle where the character is working like he is boisterous, like he is active and excited over something. But I can draw just one pose. I don't need to take time to and draw those ones again. But I can draw one pose. So the character can be something like this. Okay, and okay, something like this. Maybe let's say okay. Okay, so the character might be something like this in this kind of pose, whereby he's excited. Maybe he wants to go and meet something, and he's excited over it. You can picture the idea of the kind of animation I want to get with this, but I'm not going to do that because of time. So we are going to jump into the next one, which is ease in and ease out. Some animators call it slow in and slow out. So it says this refers to acceleration or deceleration of motion in order to create more natural and fluid movement. A very typical example of this is a car starting to move. So when a car starts to move, it slowly kicks up speed or picks up speed. So you don't just start the car and start to speed up. No, it's not possible. If the car will slowly start moving, then it will eventually gain speed. Then once it gains speed, that is what we call easing. It eases into speed or slows into speed. Then when it wants to come to a stop, it decelerates. That is, it gradually comes to a stop. It doesn't come to a stop abruptly, right? So it comes to a stop gradually. So that's what we call ease out or slow out. Now, this principle can also apply to timing and spacing. Of course, timing and spacing controls all these other principles because like I said, how fast or how slow your animation is depends on the timing and the spacing or the exposure of the frames or the drawing. Okay, so if I create an example of that, so I can, let me go to my network view and see what's here. Okay. So, by the way, this is called the network view in Toon Boom Harmony. We are still going to go in depth into that as well. So, like I said, Toon Boom Harmony is very vast. There's a lot of features, tools here in Toon Boom Harmony that if you want to study all of them, it will take you years. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of ease in and ease out. So, if I draw a car, I can draw a car. At least this class will be understandable but for children as well, because I'm using simple drawings that all of them will understand, are familiar with. You know, kids, when we were very young, we used to draw our cars like this. You know, very, very simple. But when you look at it, you know that it's a car. Okay, so this car, I will extend the exposure of this car to the last frame. So if we look at this car, you can see that this is just a simple car that I drew. However, I'm going to use pegs to animate this car. I'm not going to draw it frame by frame. I can, of course, but that would be waste of much time. So what I'm going to do, that is why computer animation has come to stay. If it was in the olden days, like I said, when computer wasn't invented yet, animators will have to draw this car frame by frame. This whole car, not the way it is, but well-detailed car. So imagine what it means to draw a well-detailed car. For every frame, for every page, you draw that car movement. So I'm going to make use of pegs to animate this car. So I'll create a peg and I'll move the pivot point to where I want it to rotate from. Okay, so I'm going to position this car maybe right here. Then I'm going to maybe come to this point and move it apart, maybe here. Okay, then I'll come to this point and move it here. Okay, then I'll come to this point and stop it here. Let's see what happens if we play this animation. Let me add twin into this in between or something like that. So I'm going to play. Hold on, let me see where this guy is. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to play this animation. Okay, you won't notice it that much. So I'm going to maybe
I think I did.
yeah, go ahead.
I said I think I did notice.
You noticed? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't notice that much. Okay, so this is what happens. All right, so now you can now
Because
notice
it
it.
started and then it gained more speed.
Yeah, so it starts slowly, then gains more speed, then stops slowly. You can see what is happening, right? It starts slowly, gains speed, then stops.
Yeah.
Starts, gain speed, stops. Starts, gain speed, and stops. So this speed can be maintained depending on the length of animation that the car is required to run. So this is just an example of that ease in and ease out. So this is not a long animation or a fanciful one, just to show you or illustrate the principle of ease in and ease out. Okay, so I believe there is no question for this one, or is there? Is there a question? So
No.
all right, I said so. I said, let me repeat what it means. This refers to acceleration or deceleration of motion in order to create more natural and fluid movement. So, what is the use of it? It helps create a sense of weight and momentum, makes motion feel more natural and realistic. Example: a moving car and a character running. Of course, when a character starts running, they will have to gain speed. Then before they have a constant speed, and when they want to stop, they have to slow down before they come to a total stop. All right, number three, arcs. The arc, this refers to the curved path of motion followed by an object or character. Example: thrown ball, character arm swing, a character jumping, hair or clothes moving. So let us see example of this one. Let me do this ease in. Hold on, ease in out. Okay. Sorry, I want to rename some of these layers so that to help you to know exactly what's there. All right, so ease in. This one is timing, space. Okay, time, space. All right. So I'm going to illustrate the third one, which is arcs. So this is an arc. All right, so let me draw. I think I'll use a pendulum as an example. So this is an example of an arc, right? So I can draw a pendulum and swing the pendulum to move at an arc. Of course, we know that pendulums move at an arc. And when you also throw a ball, the ball moves on a trajectory, a curved trajectory called an arc. When a head is rotating, most times it rotates through an arc. Let me say that this is the first head at this point, and this is the second head at this point, and this is the third head. So let me see. Let's create a new layer and illustrate this. So if I draw this first head, you notice that I am trying to hold on. Where is this guy?
Sorry, can I ask what you meant by when the head rotates? Is it like when somebody's is it rotating in terms of somebody turning their head around, or maybe when they are
just turning around like this? That's what I mean by rotation. Like if you're turning your head, it tends to move through an arc, right?
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to illustrate. Okay. So if I can find the drawing. Okay. So if I draw this guy and I go to the next frame, let me see. and I draw this one. Okay, then go to the next frame, draw this one. So if I play, so the three heads are actually too far apart, so you can make them to come a little bit closer. Okay. Come a little bit closer. Okay. See. Okay. So I can bring this a little bit close. So the essence is just to illustrate this heads following through an arc while they are rotating. So if I play this, let me extend. Most animators animate in twos, that is 2 frames per one drawing most of the time, so that the drawing will be fluid. So if I play this, now these 3 guys are too far apart, but I'm just trying to use it to illustrate the principles of arc for head turn. For just the head turn, we are going to look at more examples. Maybe this one is not example enough. Okay, so maybe if we play this, you can see what I'm trying to get here. Okay, so we can use another example of a pendulum. Let me remove this guy. Can use another example of a pendulum. We are going to use this this arc as our guideline. So if we draw a pendulum, okay, something like this. If I can get this guy. If we draw a pendulum, something like this, and we place it somewhere here, okay. So we can make use of our peg again to rotate this guy. Let's create create our pivot point so that this pendulum will rotate from the tip here. So we place our pivot point at the tip of this pendulum, as you can see, right? We are going to see it more in depth. So if I add a keyframe and I position this guy here, you can already see that actually that this guy is moving at an arc without even being told. So if I create this keyframe and okay, you can see that the action is a little bit slow. I can bring back this keyframe. All right, so if it moves here, I can copy this keyframe, paste it here, so that I'll be able to loop. Okay. Remember, we are getting into the challenging part of the class, so I'm expecting you to ask. I know that there are some things that I might be saying that you won't understand, so I will also expect you to be asking a lot of questions. So I will be tackling it as we go on with the class. All right, so if I move this guy, okay, and I can copy, paste again, maybe bring this guy here, and if I play it, you can see that the pendulum is actually moving at an arc. So the animation is just starting from the beginning again. That is why it's doing this way. All right, so if we can still go ahead and use another example, we can still find another example, or let's move further with the next principle. Let's check out the next principle. Okay, so the next one is anticipation. Anticipation. I think I'm going to give you the material for this, so I will not go too far or dive too deep into the 12 principles, okay, because of time that we should have for other parts of animation. So I'm trying to also show you that animation is actually very vast. So if you want to become a professional animation, these are the stages that you have to go through in your learning process. Exactly, as an animator. So we are going to look at the next principle, which is anticipation. So this is used to create an action that precedes a main action or movement. It is a setup action that is used to create a sense of expectation for the main action. So what do we mean by this? before a main action is performed, a character must do something that will make the audience know that this guy is about to do something, right? For example, a character
Yeah.
trying to throw a ball. First of all, raise your hand with the ball, right? You don't just throw it. When you raise your hand with the ball, the audience already know that you want to throw a ball. Then you can now
Yeah.
throw the ball. So raising up your hand in anticipation, raising up your hand with the ball, will give the audience a sense of anticipation. They will now know, okay, this guy wants to perform an action. That is the anticipation we are talking about. All right. So you say
Like
example.
when runners are getting ready to set out,
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Like they will have to be on their
they get
marks.
up their marks.
Exactly. All right. So, example, a golfer, of course, with the golf stick, you raise your hand, and before you now do what, play the golf. All right. So, a golfer, a jump action. We might use a jump action to illustrate this, and we also maybe illustrate more of arc using that example. So, throwing an object as well. So, if we use an example like somebody trying to jump. So let us see how we are going to illustrate that. So what we are going to do, we are going to first of all draw an arc, because we want this jumper to follow an arc. Of course, when you are jumping, you follow an arc. So we are going to illustrate two principles in one. Most times when you are animating, you are actually applying most of the principles in one drawing most of the time. So if I draw an arc here, let me extend the exposure of this arc, and I can come back and start drawing this character. This character is first of all standing up. Okay, first of all standing up like so. Maybe the arm might be like this, and the feet might be like this. Okay, so the character is first of all standing up like this. Then I can go to my next frame, where the character will now squat. Of course, when you want to jump, you have to first of all do what, squat. You don't just jump. Okay, so I will lock this layer. Okay, so the character will now squat. Okay, so let me draw this squatting and bring it up a little bit. So the character will squat. Okay. So let's maybe say that the character's arm went back like that. So he's in this pose. So this is what we call what? Anticipation, right? So this squatting is anticipation. Okay? Because this is the setup before the main action. So of course, like I said, before the character jumps, he has to what? Give us an anticipation. A character cannot just jump. He has to develop that momentum to jump. Of course, if I want to jump, I have to squat down a little bit, then jump. So this is the anticipation before the jump. So let's say that the character have jumped, and okay. So if you you can sometimes act the movement yourself to see what the action will look like.
Yeah.
Of course, so animators are actually actors also, because we act most of our what is it called? Most of our actions, we act it ourselves. So if I jump, okay, so I will jump. So I will jump like so, and jump so high. Okay. Then I'll draw the next one. Okay. I'll draw the next one. So he's still in the air. So maybe if I come here, he's starting to okay, let's see. So I'm trying to figure out. Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out the next poses he should take when he starts to land. Okay, so he's so fast right now. Of course, I will extend the exposure. Then let's say that he will now come here and land. Okay, can land here. Then
let's squat again.
Yeah, he will squat again. Of course, when you land, you have to squat because the action, the body have to get used to the gravity or whatever you call it. I don't know how to explain it, but I believe you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I extend this exposure and if I play this, all right, you can see that it's already taking shape. Okay, if I extend this,
it looks like that action when Sierra slid down a.
Okay, yeah, from that swing.
Yeah.
From that slide, rather.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so you can see that this guy followed through an arc to jump, and there are other principles of animation involved in this animation that I just created down. So first of all, we have anticipation. We have arc is already here. Okay, this is arc. Then we are still going to look at another one that we have not talked about, which is follow through and overlapping action. An overlapping action, which is this one. So the character will first of all adjust itself before it comes to a rest. Okay, so he's adjusting himself here before he will now come to a rest here. Okay, so that's what we call the follow through and overlapping action. It's still part of the 12 principles, and we are going to look at it. Also, there's another one, squash and stretch. We can even make this character squash. When he is moving up to the air, he will stretch. Then when he lands, he's supposed to squash. He can kind of like squash. Hold on, if I can. Wait, let me see why this thing is. Okay, all right. So if this guy lands here, I can make him to squash. All right. Then when he squashes here, I can add another frame. Maybe if I copy this guy, paste it here, and I can stretch him here before he comes to rest. Now see the difference. If I play this animation, you can see when he lands, he will squash and stretch before he comes to rest. You can see what is happening here if you observe very well.
Yeah, at the end, yeah, I saw that.
Exactly. So these are another principle that we are still going to look at: squash and stretch. All right. So I believe you understand this principle that we just illustrated now. That is the anticipation. So this is anticipation, but inside that anticipation, we have squash and stretch in it. We have follow through and overlapping action, and we have acts. So when you are animating, the 12 principles might apply to that particular scene, or some of the principles might apply to that particular scene. So it depends on what you are animating on. So the next one we have is the exaggeration. So it says it is used to accent an action. So it is used to blow an action out of proportion, out of reality. Like, for example, a character that is bulging his eyes when he sees something, maybe he or she sees something and they are surprised about what they saw. In order to express their surprise, their eyes will now bulge out. Okay, like is an exaggeration. It's not real, but it will help to add interest, fluidity, and more emotion to the scene, of course, to the animation. If we are to illustrate, okay, if we are to illustrate, we can create another drawing. And yeah, so if, for example, a character, let me say this character, the eyes. So for example, okay, let me do something here. So the character is probably like this, and the character will turn, and as the character turns, he will see something. Then his eyes, if I can illustrate this, his eyes will bulge out. The second one will also bulge out like this. So I can delete part of this. So the two eyes can bulge out because they saw something that is very surprising and maybe interesting, and the eyes will suddenly bulge out like so, and they are looking at something, say like, wow, maybe he turned and saw it, then his eyes bulged out. Okay, so this is an example of the exaggeration. We also have can have other examples depending on your creative imagination. Okay, so let's see the examples that we have here. Let's see the examples that we have on this. Okay, so it says examples: eyes popping when they see something unexpected, or an elastic arm. That is an arm that acts like a rubber. Maybe a cartoon wants to reach an object that is far above the normal hand reach. The hand will start to stretch just to reach that object. That is an exaggeration as well. Of course, we know that exaggerations are not real. That is why they are called exaggeration. But they help to add interest, appeal, and more fun to the particular animation. Of course, Tom and Jerry cartoons, they use it a lot. Yeah, there is like a lot of exaggerations. If you have been watching Tom and Jerry, there are a lot of them in that cartoon. Also, Looney Tunes. And even Walt Disney classic cartoons, there are a lot of exaggerations in those cartoons that I really love.
In their turn, sticking out as something they are looking for.
Like if Tom sees one fine girl, the eyes will just pop out and all that, all those kind of fun exaggerations. So yeah, that's by the way. And we have the next one. This next one is, okay, we now have squash and stretch. Okay, means compressing and elongating an object or character in order to create a dynamic and fluid movement. Okay, it says, let me repeat, compressing and elongating an object or character in order to create a dynamic and fluid movement. It is a way of deforming an object. Example, a bouncing ball, a character movement like rubber. Let's see the example of a bouncing ball. This one is exaggeration. Let me name it exaggeration. Exaggeration. And this one is which example is this again? Is anticipation. Anticipation. Okay, so we now create an illustration for squash and stretch. So this is a ball. This is a ball. And I want this ball. This ball is not perfect. Let me see if I can use an ellipse tool to draw this ball. So this is a ball. And I want this ball to squash and stretch while it's bouncing. So I'm going to make use of the pegs again. I'm not going to draw frame by frame this ball. Like I said, to save us some time, I'm going to place my pivot point where I want this ball to be rotating from. I can place it at the middle somewhere here because I want it to be rotating from the middle. As you can see, it's rotating, but you won't notice that it's rotating because this is a perfect circle. All right, so I'm going to squash and stretch this ball as it is bouncing up and down. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come here and I'm going to move it up, maybe to this point. Okay, then I'll come here and I'll move it down. That's the first action here. So I'm going to interpolate this. So you can see that if I play this ball, it's very slow. Let me reduce the key exposure so it will move faster. Okay, so you can see that this ball is moving like without it has no life. It's not moving realistically. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come here. As it is going up, it's going to stretch. It's going to stretch like so, and it is going up. Okay. Then as it comes to this point, I think it's going to be the way it is. So it's going to stretch, and I'll interpolate it again. Let's see. Okay. All right. So when it comes down, it's going to squash. When it comes down, it's going to squash. Okay. This stretch is going to be like this. Okay. I'm going to squash here. Let me add the keyframes here and okay. Hold on a bit. Let me see. Okay. The animation also is using your imagination to think what exactly is supposed to be there. Okay. So it will stretch and it is going up. It's going up. If you stretch and it comes up, it will be normal. Okay. Then to come down and then let's say that it will now come down to this point and then squash. So let's see what we did here. Let's see whether we got something close to what we have in our mind. We are thinking in our mind. So if we play this, okay, you can see that the ball has a little bit of life as compared to before.
Yeah.
Although the start of the ball is not, I'm not liking how it is looking, so I might still go ahead to. Okay, I think it's not bad. Okay, let me see. So this start of the ball here, I can squash it a bit. Just gonna squash it. Then as it is coming down, I can move it like so. Okay, it's supposed to come here and stretch. As it's going down, it's going to stretch. Then, right. Okay, so let's play this again. All right, you can see that the ball has more life to it than what it was previously. Although we are not perfect in what we got, but this is just for illustration. You can still go back and do this yourself. Practice on it, make it look perfect. Okay, so this one is just for training. I would also like to see some examples you can be able to come up on your own as regards these 12 principles. All right, so
now but the thing The thing is, I'm not yet conversant with using this
Okay, yeah, yeah,
because
it's
my
true.
thought was, yeah,
Oh,
my
yeah.
thought was that we'll be doing this as we go along, but I'm not sure on your approach,
Okay,
how you want to do it. Yeah,
okay.
because the thing is, I can't practice this because I can't use the tumbum yet.
All right. So what we'll do in the next class, we are
But
going to.
I understand what you've explained.
Okay. So, okay, in the next class, we are going to dive into Toon Boom right away. We are going to start learning the software itself. I'm going to teach you the interface, the tools, the menu bar, and everything that has to do with also the drawing tools as well. So, we are going to start learning that one from next week. That is the next class. We are going to start learning Toon Boom. Okay, so I was thinking of going through character design first, but it seems like we are going to start with Toon Boom first before we now do character design. Then from there we are going to talk about rigging characters, then animating characters, then creating our own project. Okay, so yeah, this is the bouncing ball, applying the principle of squash and stretch for it to move. So we are going to dive into the next principle immediately. So the next principle we have here is the secondary action. We are not going to illustrate this one because I think this one should be self-explanatory. It means an action that accompanies or supports the main action, okay, of a character. It says this is an action that accompanies and supports the main action of a character. It is used to add depth and interest to a scene, enhance the main action, create visual interest. Then example is character checking his watch while walking. We have another example, character making a call while driving. So any secondary character, any secondary action, sorry, that a character performs while performing a main action is called secondary action. For example, a character is walking on the road. That's the primary action of walking, right? But the character might decide to check the watch while he's still walking, answer call while he's still walking, be looking somewhere while he's still walking, or maybe when he's running from something, he might look straight forward to where he's running to. There's no secondary action there, but he might decide to look back and see whether what is chasing him is still chasing him. That's a secondary action. Yeah. Do you understand? Okay, so we have a lot of them. You can even come up with your own from your own imagination. I think you understand. That is what I mean by exactly. That is what I mean by self-explanatory. So this one is self-explanatory. Okay, so we now go to the next one, which is follow through and overlapping action. This is going to be the last one. Then next week we are going to finish up immediately and jump into Toon Boom Harmony proper. Okay, so follow through and overlapping action. This refers to a continuation of movement or action beyond its initial point of contact or completion. Character moving after throwing a ball. Of course, when a character, this is the setup, that is the anticipation, then throwing the ball is the main action, then coming back is the follow through and overlapping action. When I throw a ball, of course, my hand will not hang like this. I will have to draw my hand back and go back to rest, right? So that's what we call follow through. We also have another example that I showed you in this anticipation right here of this character jumping. Okay, you can see that this is a follow through. The character will first of all balance itself, balance itself before coming to rest. This is the resting position. But it will have to first of all do what balance itself before coming to rest. The same thing with a character throwing a ball. When the character throws the ball, he will have to come to rest. Then he will have to also balance himself out before coming to what? Rest. Another example that I would like to illustrate before we call this class finished, although we are supposed to have finished, but let's do this example real quick. So I'm going to draw a character that has an antenna, right? So this antenna, of course, when this character moves, that has an antenna moves, this antenna is going to move against the wind, right? Against the character movement. That is what we call overlapping. All right, overlapping or overshoot. Okay, so if I move this character, let me use Okay, let me use normal drawing. If I start to move this character, if I start to draw next keyframe, the character is in motion now. So this guy will have to do what? Start moving back, right? You understand? Just like a rabbit is running with the big ears will be flapping backwards, like moving against the direction of that rabbit. So that ear will be moving against the direction. This guy will also be moving against this direction of the main character. So this character will continue to move like so, and this guy will still continue to move against this guy. So follow through and overlapping action. This is another example that I'm illustrating. Okay, so this guy will continue to move. Then this guy will now come to rest somewhere here. But this antenna is not going to come to rest immediately with this guy. See what is going to happen. So first of all, still maintain this position. Then it will now come. It will now do what? Move forward, right?
Forward. Yeah.
It can even move backward again, depending on how rigid it is. Then do a slight movement forward again. Then maybe a slight movement backward again, then comes to rest. So if we now play this animation, let me extend this exposure and play this guy. Wonderful. See what happened, right?
That makes sense.
See what happened, right? Good.
Yeah.
So you can see that this is what we call follow through and overlapping action. The part of the character is not coming to rest exactly when the main character has come to rest. Another example is your flowing clothes, or your hair, right? When maybe you are running, when you stop running, your flowy hair will now come to rest after you must have come to rest. Okay, and also the same thing with clothes. So this is another example. You can see the antenna on the head of the character came to rest after the character has come to rest. So this is another example. So we are going to call it a day. I think we have spent our time that we gave ourselves. Okay, so if you have any question, you can go ahead and ask before we call it a day.
I think I understood up to this point.
Okay, that's all right.